And the other policy issue that was back in the fall was the gay marriage issue, of course, courtesy of the New Zealanders who took a big step on this. Have a listen here to a New Zealand woman who, living in Australia now, who sort of saw this in sporting terms.
We all know how Australia hates to lose to us. But this time you're just so far behind. We beat you to it by a million miles, and it's just time to catch up.
And so did Conservative leaders in the UK and other places. Again, it just, if anything, it probably, I think it just reinforces that feeling among some Labor supporters who care about this a lot, that Julia Gillard has let them down on this issue.
Indeed. Look, no one in the Labor Party believes she really opposed gay marriage when she did, and she was doing that for political reasons. I think the most significant development was Tony Abbott's shift on this later in the week, where he's no longer going to...
All right, just hold that thought and we'll hear from him, and then I'll come back to you on that. Let's hear from both Tony Abbott and Christopher Pyne.
I accept that if you go by opinion polls, your view is probably more prevalent than mine.
What our policy is on this will be a matter for the post-election party room.
Tony Abbott's made it clear that he hasn't changed his mind about same-sex marriage, but the party room could well decide between now and the election, or just after the election, that we'll have a conscience vote on it.
Phil?
Yeah, what Abbott is saying, he said before the last election the coalition opposed gay marriage, so had he allowed a conscience vote last time it would have been tantamount to breaking a promise, and that would have weakened his arguments against Gillard on broken promises. What he's saying now, he's not going to lock him in so firm. He's going to say the party room can make up its mind after the election. If someone brings on a private member's bill, and if the party room decides overwhelmingly they're still opposed, then they'll vote against it. But if it doesn't, it allows a conscience vote. So it's quite a significant shift. That there's now the potential for the coalition to have a conscience vote next time this comes around, but it will have to be after the election.
Which could also mean, Dennis, that we will move to adopting gay marriages under Prime Minister Tony Abbott.
It could well, yes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. All of the polling says people support it. Anybody under 40, when they're asked about it, they say, why haven't they done it yet? That's their point.
Well, Tony Abbott conceded that when he was asked that question. He said that that's the prevalent view.
Yeah, and even if you look at Tony Abbott's words himself, he has softened his own language about it. You know, you can go back in time and find some pretty strident comments from Tony Abbott against gay marriage and other social issues. On gay marriage, he has really softened it. So, you know, who knows where he may end up. You know, Barack Obama announced before the last election in America that he'd had his own journey and he'd changed his mind. Tony Abbott is not averse to changing his mind.
And a lot of people in the Labor Party will tell you that it's not an issue in terms of Julia Gillard one way or the other, but you look at, I think Labor Party supporters, especially coming up to an election, need the energy, they need the interest, they need to be motivated. Is this an issue that holds her back in terms of her own base embracing her in the way that they always traditionally have with other leaders like Paul Keating and Bob Hawke?
Yeah, I think it does. And I mean, I've made the comment quite often that even in the past, when you've had Labor leaders who have fallen out with the broader Australian public, Gough Whitlam, Paul Keating being the two most striking examples, they still were loved by the Labor Party. You know, people got up and fought for them, and at election time they went out and manned the booths and did all those things that party members do. Julia Gillard doesn't get that sort of excitement. She gets some. I mean, she's not disliked by the Labor Party base, but it's not the sort of enthusiasm that was there for Paul Keating or Gough Whitlam.
Well, Barry, I think, this may be a big issue for the ABC, but I don't think it's a big issue across the country. I think it's a very low-level issue, and if you ask Australians what really concerns them, gay marriage or homosexual marriage, whatever, is way down their list of priorities.
But it's interesting, though, nonetheless it's interesting.
It doesn't interest me.
It goes to your values. It goes to your value system.
It does go to your value system.
That's important in any debate.
Well, the question is, you know, what is a man and what is a woman? What is a marriage?
But a
marriage is a man and a woman.
David Cameron says it's an issue of basic human rights, and I think he's right.
Well, I don't think he is right. Because if you can have all of the social benefits of a civil union without calling it marriage, why do you want to go that extra step?
Because marriage is a basic civil right. It's a human right.
A right between a man and a woman.
No, it's a basic right for anybody.
between anybody.
Yes.
Therefore, you open.
It's right for anyone.
Then you're talking about polygamy. Then you're talking about everything else.
Tony, Tony Abbott this week.